Hey guys. Oh my god. It's been a bit of a silent period. I actually did that where I just didn't come on for days and days. In the end I just get to wonder whether YouTube still has a function in my life, whether yeah. You just go and ask yourself all the difficult questions. So, hi, it's Eileen. Today's Thursday, the 19th of November 2020. I have to push the words out there. It is 20 past 1 in the afternoon. It's very grey out here now. And today it is actually 25 years ago that my mother passed away. I wouldn't even have thought of it myself. This is going to be a bit of a difficult video in terms of bringing out all the words and all the things. Because like I said, I wouldn't even have remembered necessarily. I don't often, in the years, because it's a long time now, I don't always necessarily think of her and all the things on the day itself. I tend to remember beforehand and, a couple of days or a week or so afterwards. Oh, yeah, really. Oh, my God, another year, 23 years, 24 years, and so on and so on. But now it was my husband who actually decided to put a little light up in the little Virgin Mary contraption that we've got hanging on the wall, like a mini altar kind of a thing. I can show it to you sometime. Actually, now that I've started talking to you, the light has finally gone out after 8 hours. Sorry, the rain just comes fell out of the sky. So it's like signals are going off in the neighborhood all at once, Yeah, so it's kind of weird. It turns out that I had a really hard time with my husband bringing this to my attention in a manner that to me is extraordinarily reminiscent of his womb twin survivor traits, characteristics, and profile, if you want to call it that. He just gets happy over this kind of stuff because it's a chance to remember somebody and to remember the love. Good for him, and yay, I mean, that sounds excellent, except that in my case, the first couple of hours or so, I've just been wrestling with this monster inside that is all about darkness, solitude, fragmentation, terror, and war. And a couple of other things that I just can't think of at the moment. Just endless piles of misery. My mother being in pain all my life. She died when I was 28. Finally, having given up, I have sat and thought and wondered and meditated about the function, the purpose of her being in this level of pain all the time. I still don't get it. I still don't know why this had to be and why it had to be this way for me and for everybody else around. And why do I have both my parents with more or less the same planetary positions in their birth charts? Why do I have, twins for parents? It's crazy. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So this was me more or less all of the morning and part of the night. I did sleep quite fine. There wasn't like a big gaping hole in the middle of the night there. I just went to sleep really easily and forgot about everything until 5:30 or so this morning, or 6, I don't know what it was, when my husband started talking about this, and he just goes all happy, and he just wants to pay homage and to remember and do all the things. So I have even said to him just now over the phone, I was really unpleasant, I think, to him, because I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with the contrast between his emotions and mine. And there is something about womb twin survivors that I'd like to point out in living with them when you are their partner and they behave in the ways that are natural and normal to them, but you yourself are not a womb twin survivor. It may very well be that what you feel and get from them is what I would word at this point as arrogance, an incredible level of nobody in the world can suffer to the extent that they have suffered. Does it make sense really to say that? Because you can't measure that kind of thing. It becomes an ego battle in all the pain. So I don't like that. I don't like going there. I've gone there, and now I'm trying to backpedal from that, because it doesn't really float my boat, this kind of thing. So I'm assuming now that arrogance isn't really the right word. It is ignorance and it is blindness, yes. But they don't. Often womb twin survivors don't really know themselves at all, or they've only got this narrow-ish kind of perspective. Another thing that happened is that yesterday I visited my friends again. I've got one very good friend that I've known for all this time. She used to know my mum even, so I've known her for ages. And she's been in a bit of a bad way. She's making and has made great progress in terms of learning to deal with herself and her life and things and emotions and all that, compared to who she used to be like 10 years ago. So she's like a whole different person. And she occasionally, once or twice a month, comes over to my place, and she gets herring from the market over there, and I have bread normally, and we have a slice of bread for lunch, which is a really good plan, followed by coffee and stuff, and we chat. So all that was fine, and it's completely friendly, and we're really good mates, and we can talk about all the things and all the vibrational things. And so she's really priceless to me in those terms. And yesterday, because last time I saw her was a couple of weeks ago, and same scenario, afterwards she said that she would like to go to a town which is over yonder, about 20 kilometers away or so, to buy linen fabric, because she'd been watching channels on YouTube that I'd recommended to her, about sewing and doing, hand sewing, making beautiful things again. And that appeals to her no end, and I knew it would. So she wanted to finally, after so many years of not doing any sewing and not getting around to any kind of personal, emotional equilibrium kind of work for herself, she wanted to actually get back to that. So I was quite pleased and happy for her. And off we went, a couple of weeks ago, to the fabric store, and got her a lot of piles of linen and threads and stuff to get that done. And she wants to make me a nightshirt, and like an 18th century or type linen nightshirt out of a greyish dark blue linen fabric that she bought. So I'm all excited. I used to have one of those back in the days in France, long time ago, when my mum was still alive, yes. And I loved it, and I've worn it until it just fell to pieces. So I'm really looking forward to having another one of those, and especially if she makes it for me, and so on and so forth. So all that is great and sounds perfect and couldn't be better. So yesterday, fast forward to yesterday again, we had our little discussion. She needed to do more precise measurements on me, and it was something else. So we decided to change locations from here to her house. So this, I hope, no, none of you know her and she doesn't know you, so it's fine. This is just a theoretical person for you, and I hope it stays that way. Because when I got there, I mean, this is somebody who really enjoys ordered surroundings. Okay, my house, what you see here, is like a massive jumble of things for her. She likes my stuff normally because the esoteric stuff and, journals and creative bits and bobs and natural things and pots and pans, She likes the adventurousness of all that. But she tends to have her house normally in a normal sense of what her life should look like. She lives alone. She doesn't have anybody else coming over to visit very often. I don't think for weeks on end. Certainly now in 2020 with lockdown types of scenarios, nobody comes there except little old me. And I had visited at her house during the spring, I think in the months of May and June. I've been over twice or maybe 3 times, and we tended to sit outside in the garden, and already at that time I was appalled. With all my junk, I'm appalled at the state her house is in. And this woman is over 60. This is somebody who's very professional, takes everybody's, she's a teaching job at a technical university not far from here. She's got work ethic like way over there, principled, a purist in many ways. And her house is pandemonium. So I got there. I had said I visited a couple times during the spring, and already then it was a bit of a problem for me to be there, but we sat outside most of the times. I think the 3 times that I visited then, we sat outside the house, so on a terrace or in a little like a glass house that she has to the side of her kitchen on the outside. So I didn't really see all the mess. I didn't have to go into the living room. This time I did. I really have to think I don't want to describe for you this type of situation more than you need to know for the story, right? Maybe I shouldn't even attempt at describing any of it. I said to her, look, if you want to have my measurements, we are first going to clear off your dinner table completely, because you can't work here. You can't work anywhere. And so we did that. And it turned out that all she needs, and I've seen this before also in other people, she can do this. She can sort it out. But it's gotten to such a level of neglect and I suppose there's a strong sense of abandonment in the house as well as in herself. And that hurt me quite a bit. Because it's a trigger, because, well, yeah, there you go. But it turns out all she really needs is for somebody to be there. To consistently, to stick around for the hour and a half or whatever it is that it takes her to get the dinner table cleared. An hour and a half. Yeah. So I helped little bits, there were a million pens everywhere, so I checked whether the pens were still working or not. And those that didn't work anymore got thrown in the bin, and the others got organized, and so she can get at them. So the table was much improved. She could actually, wipe it clean and reinstall her bits and things that she actually does need, I'm going back there next week sometime, probably, because we've decided that I was going to come back. She also has a little sauna cabin in her house. So we were going to have this, we're having this plan now where I come to see her, or either we go and have our herrings over here and then move over to her place, or in whichever form or shape at some other point during the week other than Wednesdays, depending on schedules and things. We're going to go over to her place and I'm going to sit and keep her company and talk to her while she does a segment of the chaos until I decide that it's okay. She's really happy with the result. She loves the result. It's like, this is all I really need, is for somebody to sit around and watch me do it. Which makes me laugh. I've done that kind of job for myself. What hurts me most about this kind of a situation, and I'm a Leo, so that's why I see that kind of chaos in your house as dishonorable, as there's no honor, there's no self-respect in not having a place to work. This is a house where she is living 24/7, more or less, at the moment, what with lockdown and stuff. She had shoved her laptop in between the piles of mail and paperwork and whatever else it was lying on either side. Just shoved it in there, and there's a little lamp sitting beyond it, so that there's enough light on her face for her to do Zoom and things like that. And you can't see, so behind her you see a cupboard which is looking fine, you don't see the rest of the 360, which is like a bomb site, really. So yeah. And already she had been working on it. So I'm apparently really obsessed over her situation right now. She is also a womb twin survivor. And she also has this, what I called arrogance earlier. It isn't really arrogance. It is maybe arrogance tends to be this, where it is basically somebody has this massive, what do you call those? Panels on side of the eyes, so they can only see their own track. They don't really, neither of those two, my friend and my husband, really ever see me at all. So, which is why I go on YouTube, even today, especially today. Because yeah, like so many other people, I suppose I'm alone. And I don't, my mum isn't here anymore, and because she isn't here, I have made massive progress in my life that I think, and I'm reasonably confident that she would have approved of every inch of the way. I've also, another big deal at this point for me is that I have communicated with her younger brother again through email. I haven't seen him, I haven't talked to him personally. I have not even phoned him or any of it. I've just, had WhatsApp and email conversations with him. But I've, for the first time, actually mentioned how it was that my mum, his older sister, was born before the Second World War, how she was treated by her father and his father, in manners that were quite violent. And I suppose there is worse scenarios than hers, but he was still quite shocked, and he didn't know anything. He didn't know anything about this. So that was last week. Actually, me putting this into words in a manner that was more or less that I think was more or less okay. It was 2 weeks ago, and I got a response from him that was quite extensive, and he has a bit of a hard time with it, and I tried to answer that and explain a couple more things that I have learned about this process and about, being a descendant of somebody, it's important to know, even if my mother has been that level of authoritarian, aggressive with me only a couple of times. I was utterly terrified of her. And I basically denied myself all sorts of life, all sorts of expression while she was around, while she was still alive. So that's very bitter. All that is completely bitter. But it wasn't her doing. It was never really her choice. So I have to see how he deals with this, whether he can accept that this is relevant. He's got an older brother as well, and my older uncle, who is 80 years old by now or over, that he's not going to confront with any of this material because it's just too painful. And I've always seen, from the time I was old enough to realize those things, to the extent that I've actually, been in the same room with this older uncle of mine, I have always seen the same level of fear and trying to sort of write yourself out of the equation, kind of a situation, kind of emotion in him that I just recognized. It's old violence from long ago. Often, I believe my grandfather, who did this to his little children, was himself hit with the belt when he was 5 years old. And this is, when are we talking? 1914, 15? So it's more than a century ago. And the woman who did this, his mother, who was herself abandoned by her husband, she probably grew up in the same way. So there's generations worth of violence going back in time that still impacts us today if we're willing to be aware of it, right? So all the other problems with narcissism and gaslighting, all that is like crammed in my brain at the moment. I am trying to, I suppose after today, it will start to, the pressure will actually start to diminish, because that's what I'm expecting, because this has always been, whenever I did think of the 19th of November, it was always a difficult day for me. So I'm fairly confident that tomorrow I will feel, that, okay, so I've done another revisiting of all these themes and all these conflicts and all this lack of understanding and lack of support and all the, all that. And I've put it into words right here, right now, which is something that I can only do in this particular format and in my writing format, which I've got lying next to me as well. So I haven't touched this massive pile of intel in a couple of weeks now. I have done, however, a lot of knitting, and so on a slightly more hopeful and positive note, I've been quite creative. I want to show you my knitted panels that I've got. This is hand spun wool on my spinning wheel. Some of you have actually seen me do spinning, and this is one part of the result. This is just a couple of panels, and what I did is I had lots of fun here. I spun white thread, and I spun a thread that's multicolor, like so, that has all these tints in it. And there's yellow over there. Can we show that? Yes, see? So this is all one thread going up like that. And there is white wool in that thread as well, but just little bits, intermittent with other types of sheep wool, and sometimes I have silk even, and just depending on what I've got. So the other good thing, this is the back panel probably of my sweater to be. The other good thing that I'm rather pleased with and proud of myself is that I did geometrical patterns. See, I did a pentagram twice in a little shape and in a slightly bigger version, and there is my, that I'm really proud of, my heptagram, my 7-pointed star. It's a bit less obvious, but I think that's fine. It shouldn't be too much in your face. This is my front panel of my sweater that's going to be like this. You know, there's going to be, I'm working on the other parallel white dominant band. I've just started on that, and it's going to sit on this side, and this is going to be a massive, humongous, big sweater that I'm really looking forward to using as well. And the other fun thing that I did is I made a bone needle. I may have talked about this already, I'm not sure. I can show it to you because it's right here. I have to pull it out of its holder. This is what that looks like. See, there's a hole in there. Out of a piece of calf bone, I chopped it up and polished it and boiled it with soap, some kind of bicarbonate soap. I don't know what that's called. And it's fairly thin, and it might be stronger, but it works just fine to sew because you don't want a needle that has a really sharp point. So this is just a very blunt point here, and I use that to sew the knitted patches together like that. So I'm having tons of fun with that, enjoying my knitting, enjoying all parts of the process, and just generally inventing as I go along, you know. And I really enjoyed making my patterns, my knitting patterns, because I did prepare those beforehand with, you know, really measuring out what a pentagram is supposed to look like. And what do you call one of those metal? You have to tell me. Please, somebody comment. What is the English name for this thing? Okay, you stick the pin in the middle and you go meow, and you have a circle. You tell me what this is, please. Somebody, anybody, somebody out there. So thank you. I'm gonna hang up the phone right now and call husband back because I was being a bit nasty to him earlier. I will watch, you know, I will see whether I upload this at all. Probably I will upload this as is. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to me ramble. It has been a tough year anyway. You know, it's been an endless series of big ass questions being asked of us, expansive processes that had to go deep and painful, and all this stuff, you know, all this stuff. Why all the, yeah. So here's to you. I'm just gonna finish my tea now. Thank you so much for being here, and I will be back, okay, sometime soon. And just hang in there, and you too, you know, you do you, okay, because nobody else is going to. So there. Thank you. See you next time. Bye bye.